Hello and welcome to Crypto Weeklies. In this video, we are going to analyze and do a deep dive on ETH, which is right now in the accumulation zone at around 0.28 risk. This is my website, cryptoweeklies.com, link on the bottom of your screen. The homepage on the top left says, it describes the popular narrative over the last 7 days based on the term frequencies on social media content related to crypto. The larger the size on the narrative wall, the more popular the narrative. Right now, the bullish and the bearish narrative is almost equidistant or equal in narrative strength. That means the market has kind of settled to the price action where it went over the last week or so. The Bitcoin narrative is still popular. Other altcoins not that much. Only the top cryptos such as Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol, Cardano, Hedera, these and Litecoin, and so on are garnering significant attention. This overall social sentiment risk as of March 2026, as of last complete month, is 27. That means the price action in terms of the social sentiment, both of them are coming at a equal risk. So if you multiply 0.28 by 100, you'll get 28 out of 100. And for the composite risk as well as social sentiment risk is going hand in hand with that logic. This composite risk model uses all of our risk based models, and again and it's weighted average of all of these risk based models. The regression based risk, the time weighted average price risk, the simple moving average price based risk, drawdown from all time high, volatility, beta, and Sharpe ratio inform that one single dashboard metric of where the overall risk is. If it's less than 0.3, it's technically in accumulation phase, but it's in a shallow accumulation territory for Bitcoin and ETH. For other cryptos, so for example, the ones which have kind of lost the plot, such as Dogecoin right now is at 0.18. ADA similarly, Cardano at sitting at very low risk. So coming to a deeper dive on ETH today, we'll start with the diminished decay based regression model. This is the polynomial regression based mathematically derived fair value line since 2017. If you were to cut the price action into two halves, where the top half is where the price action is overvalued, bottom half is undervalued, and using a non-linear estimation of that price action based fair value, the fair value for ETH is coming in at around 3,700. Right now the price of ETH, if you check over here, the price is at around $2,000 or so. Price is right now below the 200 week simple moving average price, which is at around 2,400, and the 300 week simple moving average price, which is at around 2,350. Historically speaking, accumulating ETH, when this line over here, the blue line, when it turns white, that's where the price is lower than the 200 week simple moving average. Not the worst time to do that. Historically speaking, in the bear market of 2022, price action was at lower than 200 week simple moving average for a couple of months, if not more, and three distinct instances. Now in 2026 bear market, it's the first instance after that 2025 drop where the price is below 200 week simple moving average and the 300 week simple moving average. In the shorter term, as the fair value for ETH is coming in at around $3,700, what I would estimate is that this fair value, the slope of this fair value function is largely dependent on the current, again also the historical price actions in the last 8 years since 2017, last complete 8 years, almost running into the 9th year now, and also the current slope of the price versus the fair value. Right now the price is at around $2,000. The fair value is at around $3,700. So almost the fair value sits almost twice of the current price. What becomes more key is to apply a one standard deviation residual function on the fair value to identify if ETH has gone undervalued at any point in time. If you would notice that in the last bear market, the price action kind of evaded this light green line over here, and you can see the distance between the white line and the green line is decreasing as the time proceeds. That's because this accounts for diminished volatility or the diminished decay model. That's like what we like to call. The first time ETH went undervalued in that bear market starting 2022 was actually in the bull market year of April 2025. That's when the price action was lower than the green line, and you would have seen on other channels as well, popular YouTube channels as well, where at that phase of the market cycle when ETH was going lower than this green line over here, the market was in a panic state with respect to ETH and ETH related narratives, only for ETH to do a 3x from roughly speaking $1,500 to about $5,000 in a matter of months. Now the reality is slightly different. Now ever since this 2018 drop, this is the first time ETH has gone into this undervaluation zone in a bear market. So 2022 evaded this green line, so that could be one reason that 2025 2026 was not that fantastic for ETH, as diminished volatility to the downside means that diminished volatility to the upside. Now let's see, again this comes with a silver lining, that although the price action is lower than that $2,300 level, which again a beautiful confluence over here, that undervaluation zone per the regression model coincides with the 300-week simple moving average at also at around $2,300. And I would imagine the slope and the trajectory of this regression function could match that 300-week also, which is also growing with time, as price action has spent considerable amount of last 300-week about $2,300. So where can we go from here? The next stop, if there is a rally to the $2,300 level, it could likely meet with a resistance like it did back in February 2020, or there could be some sort of a rally back to the fair value like it was back in June 2019. So the two scenarios, either if there is a major counter trend rally in the second quarter of 2026, the stop for the first major stop for ETH is at around 2,300. If there is some more wiggle room to the upside, the fair value could be where the price action could kind of meet with its ultimate resistance. The other scenario is if, let's say, 2026 is anything similar to other bear market years, where price action spends considerable time going down with time. The secondary level for ETH to watch for is this dark green line over here, the bottom green line, which is the 2 standard deviation or residual drawn from the fair value, and there is only a 2.5% chance that the price goes lower than this green line, the dark green line. I will remove that lighter green line for reference. So this is where price bottomed in 2018. There was a panic drop in 2020. That was once in a lifetime kind of event. Right now this this dark green line comes at around $1,500. That's one of the worst case estimation for ETH, and right now it's at around $1,500. If you extrapolate this line out into the future, again the 3 standard deviation line right now is coming in at around $1,000 level, which is the worst case scenario. Price action has never went below the 3 standard deviation line. An extrapolation on that 3 standard deviation line towards end of 2026 is at around $1,100 to $1,200. So if you account for another, so difference between the 3 standard deviation and 2 standard deviation right now is roughly speaking $500. So a bottom on 3 standard deviation line at around 1,200 towards the end of year 2026. Over here at around 1,100 towards the end of 2026, adding another $500 on that $1,100. The bottom for ETH on that green line could be at around 1,600 towards the end of the year 2026, which is right now at around 1,500. So a growth of $100 in the rest of 2026, 9 months of 2026 is not too outlandish. So that could be one area of bottom at around $1,600 for ETH. Coming to the time weighted average price model, this model for ETH is kind of arguably more important. This white line over here is the time weighted average price. This is each day since 2017. So 8 times 365 days average price informs this white line over here, which instead of looking at a price in its current state, this model looks at where the asset has spent its entire life as a known asset. I know ETH was launched sometime in 2015, but it became largely a known entity in 2017 rally. So starting from that point, we are not missing out too much of the data going forward. In the last bear market, what happened is price found support at the time weighted average price, and that was a perfect bottom estimation. Even in 2025, for that matter, that drop was exactly at the time weighted average price support. This time around, in 2026 February, there were two instances where the price came really in a touching distance with respect to the time weighted average price and found some sort of support and started building out yet another rally. What I would like to see over here, again, not financial advice, is this time around, at least if there is a great accumulation zone for ETH. Right now the time weighted average price is at around 1700. If the other scenarios were to hold true, if let's say bottom for ETH is not at around $2,000, if let's say right now we are $300 away from the time weighted average price, if let's say the time weighted average price risk goes into risk level 1 like it did in early February, that could be, again, nobody can claim that when the price action has to bottom, but at least the accumulation territory opens up at around $1,700. That's pretty much what this model is saying at this point. If you roll the clock forward 4 to 5 months out into the future, that time weighted average price could be very close to $1,800 to $1,900 at that point. This does not mean that the price action cannot drop any further than that. You can see from the bear market of 2018, late 2018, at one point the price action was almost 82% dropped. There was a drop from that time weighted average price. At that point, the time weighted average price was $500. The price was at around $80. So there was an $83% correction on the time weighted average price. Even in 2020, there was about a 66% correction. I'm not saying that the price has to do something similar where 80% or 60% drop, but a 30 to 40% drop could be on cards. With respect to, let's say, the time weighted average price is at around $2,000, a 30% drop would be about $600 lower than that, would be at around $1,400. A 40% drop would be $800. $800 is 40% of $2,000. So subtracting 800 from 2000 would give a bottom at around $1,200. That's the worst case scenario anyways, as estimated from the 3 standard deviation diminished decay based floor model. So that's, again, right now that 3 standard deviation floor does not make much amount of a sense, as the price action is nowhere close to more close to the 1 standard deviation residual than even the 2 standard deviation or the 3 standard deviation for that matter. But largely towards the end of the bear market, if not in 2026, sometime in 2027, I would imagine that this blue line would come into consideration. Maybe not at this current valuation, where the valuation of this blue line is closer to $1,000. Maybe 1.5 year later, this valuation of this blue line, again rolling back 1.5 years from now, again back from now, was again increased by about $400 or so. So again, another $400, again proportionally speaking, it could be at around $500 as well from here, at around $1,500 maybe in 2027. So that's always this blue line might always provide some sort of a understanding. Again, there is only 0.15% chance that the price action goes lower than this 3 standard deviation, because 3 standard deviation considers about 99.7% of the price action, and together this blue line and the red line over here, the price action has spent its entirety within these bounds. So these bounds in the euphoria phases of the bull run hold significant resistance, and the panic cases of the bear market hold significant support. So that's how these models are derived. So coming back to what ETH could do in the shorter term, that's anybody's guess. But if you were to rely on machine learning based models, looking at average price of ETH since 2017, a non-panic bottom for ETH with 2 months of more bearishness starting early April to, let's say, um, early June, suggests that the floor for ETH could be at around $1,400 to $1,500 level. So that's if we get 2 months of bearishness. If we get more than that, let's say 3.5 months of bearishness, the floor for ETH is closer to $1,400 or slightly less than $1,400. Coming to an estimated bull run scenario for this bear market bottom, the worst case scenario is, as mentioned over here, is at around $1,400. The base case is only 11% away at around $1,822. So earlier, as mentioned previously, whenever the price goes sub time weighted average price at around $1,700-$1,800, that's the earliest accumulation for ETH per all of these models. Again, not financial advice. And trying to conclude with a bullish or hopeful note, let's say if 2026 recovers, so the downturn in 2026 is well managed and 27-28 time period recovers well, the base peak forecasted for ETH using the same risk based models is somewhere close to 8,800 to 10,400. So if price action kind of bottoms at around $1,500 level, a rally to 9K would be roughly speaking 6x from the bottom. With that, on the hopeful note, I'd like to conclude the video by saying not financial advice. Hope you enjoyed the content. All of these charts, by the way, are available on cryptoweeklies.com. Link on the bottom of your screen. Hope you enjoy them as well, and hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye-bye.